Ja, hi.
Yeah, hi. We're glad to be here,
Dass die Republika uns eingeladen hat.
that Republika invited us. We're Thomas and Philipp from Volksverpetzer, and we'll tell you a bit about what we're doing in our anti-fake news blog, as we like to call it, and how we're trying to promote the truth, to advertise the truth. Because there's really a lot of amazing, reputable knowledge and fact-checking formats. There's so many great initiatives and organizations, even here at Republika. We've seen them, we've heard them. We were really excited about seeing something. But still, the impact in discourse is still missing. If someone becomes viral, it's usually built a German right-wing media. And they're really debating, and they're really sort of dominating the debate. And we need to understand why. So, to start with the topic, let's start with a topic that has really followed us at Volksverpetzer for a long time, the COVID pandemic. Many of you read many fact checks by us about Querdenker, which is a German movement that is anti-vaccine and anti-facts. And I want to take a step back. Why were facts so important during the COVID pandemic? Why did so many people ask for them? And to answer this question, I want to go to Russia. What many people don't know is that Russia's COVID impact was actually really bad. There was a lot of people, there was a great excess death rate, a lot more than official data actually showed. And we're seeing this analysis has also been shown in Economist. More than 1 million people died in Russia during the COVID pandemic. Why did they? Was Putin against vaccines? Querdenker, they said that Putin is really on their side. He doesn't like vaccines. He's against all of the different COVID measures. But is that even true? No, actually. In Russia, there were very similar measures to what happened in Germany. There were even punishments for people who didn't vaccinate themselves. You could even say that Russia was a corona dictatorship. But how come we don't know anything about this? Because in Russia, state media really advertised a lot for getting vaccinated. But in Europe, these kind of state media, the same state media, actually advertised against policy and also advertised against vaccinations. So what we're seeing here is really a kind of info war. They use the information as a weapon against the West. They have spread information that were supposed to damage us, while at the same time spreading other information in their own country. So why was it so bad in Russia despite all of these measures? Well, actually, the fact basis isn't really there. Most of us didn't follow COVID measures because we were afraid of being punished, but instead because we thought we have the right facts. We know that doing these things is good. But Putin has actually eroded this kind of factual basis in Russia because he wanted to weaken his democracy. And by doing so, he weakened his democracy, and then they didn't have this kind of factual basis. Looking at studies, it's quite clear. There's many studies that are showing that these measures and the vaccines have saved a lot of people people and a lot of sort of lives as well. You can see a lot of studies, and this is just a couple of them. I also have more. All of them show that masks are actually effective. So studies are there. Evidence is here. Science is here. And they're often surprisingly clear. This is what's crazy. If you discuss in media, you're discussing sort of, do masks work or don't they work? Let's invite a scientist to present the facts and someone else who sort of doesn't believe they work, then it looks like it's a 50-50. It looks like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But we were not the only ones who have spread these facts. A lot of journalists, a lot of scientists that know a lot more. But because of this false balancing, because of social media, they really were sort of drowned out. We at Volksverpetzer didn't only rely on all of the facts and on presenting the facts in a very boring but also very fact-based way. Instead, we tried to make a lot of this information easy to access, digestible. So as an example, this is like, there's no killing bees. The main investigator is still alive. And we presented this to sort of fake news about Drosten, who really isolated the COVID virus and did a lot for German COVID response, to be honest, and was really punished by a lot of lies. And here we also did the same. We said, hey, so this is a fact, and how Bild again lies to you. And I think we cannot, we should not underestimate the role of titles and pictures. They're often the first or only thing you can actually see, and especially the media that isn't very fact-based. They really use these easy headlines that are being presented in a very easily digestible way, and in a world where we are really being presented with information, it's really important to make sure that facts are actually showing up. So here we have this kind of graph that shows the sort of matrix between being or like looking serious and serious content. On the top left, where it's looking serious and we also have serious content, it's the typical German public broadcaster. When we're looking serious behavior, serious looking, but not unserious content, then we have Bild and Welt and these kinds of things. And there is really a gap between when we're talking about having good content, having serious content, but not serious looks.
I mean, Volksverpetzer, that's not a serious name. We are just doing our stuff with the fascists. We don't want to fall for those share pigs, and our goal is to have a broad audience and to show them and to be a part of the informational society. Even the best work isn't good enough if no one is reached, because of social media algorithm about trends and everything. But we shouldn't just moan about it, because this doesn't solve anything. So we bite into the sour apple and we're doing what works. Because in question, I mean, we could save humans' lives. That's why disinformation is so easy for some people. To make it a little more precise, we look at a case of the pandemics, the case of intensive beds. We all know that intensive care beds have been used a lot during the pandemic. We had a lot of problems to organize everything because there were too few spots for people and too many people infected with corona. Operations had to be put on different dates. People had to use different or other hospitals, and that was, everyone knew that. But during the pandemic, there was a register where you could look up how many intensive care beds are taken right now and how many are still free. And this register during the pandemic gave the definition of what counts as a bed. For example, there were children's beds that were put out of this, and some things were counted differently because you could only use beds or count beds as a bed if you have the personnel for it. So usually it was like regular changes. You could say, okay, that's fine. But the DV-Fake looked at these changes and used it to pretend, yeah, the scarcity that's is not existing. And one of the major spreader of this was Welt, a German newspaper outlet. They wrote many articles on this fake, and they pretended a few times that these beds, that there is no scarcity in beds right now. To all other journalistic outlets, this would be like a total failure, a complete total failure, because it was wrong. But Welt, it was worth it for the Welt. Welt had a lot of new subscriptions because of this. They had a record number of subscriptions, so they made a lot more money than before. We fought against it, so we wrote this article. You can see, yeah, it's pretty taking. There's a creative headline and a creative image for this, and it worked pretty well because this article was clicked a lot of times and also shared. But it's still the case that if you Google the people responsible for this, our fact check is the first result on Google, which is pretty good. So let's look at, in contrast, the most successful fact check from a different outlet. It was made by Bayerischer Rundfunk, the Bavarian radio and TV station. They wrote about Divigate. Matthias Schrappel. Well, they were basically pretended to make errors, and there should be errors in that thesis paper. I don't have to say a lot about the contrast to our image, but firstly, it's a question. It's pretty clear what's happening or what has happened, and it's also the case that the most important thing about this fact check is like, but there were errors in the thesis paper, and this should have been the headline because this is the actual point of all this. So you just recall the thesis, and well, yeah, just this is the difference between serious media and the campaign media of Axel Springer. Serious media, they hide the facts, and while campaign media spreads the fake into the world loudly. This is a problem. All serious media, they use the fact check as a spoiler. For example, here, yeah, is work still worth it if social support is rising? And yes, spoiler. Yeah, there's more in the article to this. Studies show that this kind of hiding of facts
der Berichterstattung eben nicht dazu führt,
doesn't lead to this like facts being more present. So in this case, the fake is in the focus. It's like when I say, don't think about pink elephants. And what do you think about now? Yeah, pink elephants, of course. So that's why speak the facts loudly and clearly, because if we don't do that, no one does it. And that's why it's also, pretty clear that if we have, let us dictate those topics that they are spread in this way, it's not good. So this is the reason why we have to speak out the truth. And also in this case, it was true that it was clear that we didn't have intensive care beds. Everyone said that. There was no idea whatsoever that this couldn't be true, but the fake, kind of stayed there. It's actually the case that this is a tweet or quote by Pierre Lamberti. The fake distributors from Russia, they know that we handle their fakes in this way, and sometimes fact checkers get these fakes so they get more reach. And aren't we doing something wrong here? I mean, I want to point out what Philip did, what he made differently. We could have just started with, Welt pretended that the divi statistics are wrong. Let's just find out. No, at first he told you the fact, and then he showed you the fake, and then recalled the fake. Yeah, it's like a fact sandwich. So the first thing and the last thing you get is the facts, and not only recalling the fake. I'm also doing this as well.
So people who are asking for asylum who've been in Germany for 8 years work, like 86% of them work and pay Social Security, of course. Among Germans, it's actually only 80%. More people, and they have the double rate of founding something than Germans. And these are great stories that you could talk about, that you could mention when talking about migration. But even though these positive facts exist, media actually usually talks about refugees in a negative way. Across the board, immigration is often seen as a problem, as a danger, especially sort of talking about negative effects on security. This is other statistics that show that refugees are shown in a negative light, and they are often included in sort of talked about when talking about crime. And even Tagesschau isn't much better than Bild here. And actual asylum seekers are less criminal than the average. If an AfD, which is a German far-right party, follower hears this, their brain will explode. Now, why don't I hear about this? Even though there's a lot of serious media that, for the most part, really do a good job, the debate is so one-sided. There's something we're doing wrong, therefore. We've tried to do it differently. We're telling facts, using narratives. We're telling the other story, the other side. We don't oppose the same stories again and again. Of course, there's a lot of threats, a lot of hate, a lot of lies, a lot of protest, and also lawsuits that people want to use to make us mum. And whoever remembers the largest lawsuit against us was by someone called Wodak. He sent us a 2,000-page lawsuit. Take a look at this guy. He still had some hope. He wasn't shaved. He's the first big Querdenker. He was like the big starter of the movement. Already in March 2020, he really played down the COVID news and spread fake news. He really sort of paved the way for a lot of fake news that came after him. His lawyer sued us for 250,000 people. And it took years and years because they tried to prolong the process, of course. But today, live and exclusive, we can tell you, we won.
Ich mich so gefreut darauf.
I was so happy. I was so looking forward to this. His lawyer has been away for a while. He's actually on trial currently. And Wodak now finally actually sort of dropped the lawsuit. He needs to pay all the fees, including our lawyers' fees, and we're really happy about that. We're really happy about that. We're getting maybe 4,000 euros, less than we actually spent, but whatever. But what we thought would be, maybe some of you have donated money to us because we've already paid for it. They don't wait 3 years for their bills. So what we thought is, what can we do with the money? One problem that Querdenker like Wolfgang Wodak have mentioned themselves are that lockdowns had negative effects. Yes, of course, we need to talk about them. There were fewer vaccinations against important illnesses like measles.
Genau. Und deswegen werden wir das Geld
And that's why we will donate Wodak's money that he has kindly provided to us. Donate to make sure that we can vaccinate kids against these illnesses. And also UNICEF has actually created a new vaccination program against malaria. We're also donating to that.
Wir hoffen, dass Herr Wodak nichts.
And we're hoping Mr. Wodak doesn't mind.
Hat uns ja
He left the money to us, so he can't really mind. The new malaria vaccine is very effective, was tested successfully, has a really high effectivity of 75% against severe forms of malaria in small children, and is being administered by UNICEF. $6 can already sort of administer one vaccine dose of malaria. And this isn't all of it. So we also had a great community. At no point did we need to worry about them winning the lawsuit, because we had such a big community that were able to donate money to us. Many others don't have this community, and therefore we want to protect others from these kind of slap lawsuits. So we're donating half of the money that we're getting back to the European Center for Press and Media, for Press and Media Freedom. Because they actually approached us after they heard about our lawsuit. They proactively approached us and sent us 1,000 euros so that we could defend ourselves successfully. So thank you again. They really try to sort of be active at the European level against SLAPP lawsuits. SLAPP lawsuits are those that are really intimidation lawsuits. So we thought, okay, that's not enough. So we'll round up the 4,000 something euros and also doubling the money. So both of them are getting 5,000 euros. Both of them are getting all the money because we think both of them really need the money, really could use it, really deserve it. And we're really happy that this kind of vaccine skeptic that his lawsuit can be used to good use now to protect vaccines and other people against lawsuits. And it's still not everything. We also want you to be able to participate. So on all our platforms, on volksverpetzer.de, Twitter, Instagram, etc., we also have started a new donation campaign that is called the Wolfgang Wodak campaign, like donation campaign. And you can add up to 10,000 euros to the money that we are donating. And whatever the final amount is, we're doing 50-50% between the two recipients. One fake news there is. So on Better Place, only non-profit organizations are able to get donations. Now we have actually lost our non-profit status, so it is not on Better Place, but we have created our new our own website. Go to whatever platform, app, website, whatever, and there you'll find the link to donate. So we're hoping that this is how you can tell good stories. This is how we can make something positive from all of these negative things, from the hate, from the fake news, to bring positive things to light, tell positive stories. And all of that just because of you. This is how we can fight against disinformation. And this is how Volksverpetzer fights against disinformation and really advertises for the truth. Thank you.